Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Greatness Game, episode 15. Tonight, we are talking about force versus flow. And this is so important, especially right now because of what is going on. So it's really super, such an important subject because whether you are working, not working, busy, not busy, this is a really important lesson that will further your life, further your income, further your joy, further your purpose, and really just enrich your life because we want to be in a state of flow versus force. So just a few lessons around flow versus force tonight. And I do have my prickly pear margarita tonight because it's just, last night I made a date last night and I said, I'm bringing my prickly pear margarita, which is my favorite drink. So welcome in, come in, have a glass of wine, have a margarita, and spend a few minutes with the Greatness Game. I am here every night to help create positivity, encourage you, empower you, because it is about your mental toughness, your leadership, and your greatness games. There's a huge difference in our life when we are playing greatness games versus smallness games. So tonight is a huge greatness game because it's all about your flow, which is your power and your gifts playing at the highest level. So one of my favorite examples of flow is nature. When you look at nature, when you look at a stream, it is in perfect harmony. I mean, it is such a perfect example of flow. But what we get into is force because we know better and we're attached to certain results. And so I want to give you kind of the definitions of force versus flow. Force is the mental state of attachment, right? So it is just all about like forcing something to happen, even when we don't even know we're doing it, but it's the subconscious attachment to a certain result. And that makes us, who we're being in that is actually not someone that you are committed to being, right? So what I mean by that is when you're trying to force a result, it actually forces you to be someone who you're not usually. And flow is a mental state of being present in your full genius, in your full zone, in your full potential, and letting that be the driving force. So just a few tips around how to stay in flow because it's so powerful. I'm telling you, it is so powerful when you can access your flow and be intentional around your flow, especially around your business or things that matter to you. Of course, our family and our home life. But if you are in a career or a business, being in flow is so powerful. So the first tip, I have 4 tips. The first tip is being aware of the result that you are attached to. So like I said, when we are attached to a certain result happening, it forces us into being rigid and maybe being a jerk or being forceful, being dominating to get that certain result. And that is not our best self, and it's certainly not going to help the situation. But we think because we white knuckle it, we're going to get that result. So the first and foremost awareness is asking yourself, like, what am I so attached to? What result am I trying to force myself to get here? Because that's such a huge awareness when we can call ourselves on that attachment, okay? So, and then, when we're aware of it, that's when we can say, oh, okay, let's step back. Let's be intentional, right? We can be intentional and still not be forceful, right? So in the world of results, which is the world I live in producing results and with my clients and whatever those results are. And I've never seen someone win a result that they have forced and dominated to make happen. It's a horrible journey to be on. And even when they do get the results, usually everybody quits because it was such a horrible journey, right? So that's definitely not a result that we want. So first and foremost, awareness around what are you so attached to and what are you forcing to make happen, and allowing yourself to step back and say, okay, wait, I'm going to shift over to being intentional, being committed, but not being forceful and not having that like must happen, because it won't. I promise you, you will not get the result that you want. The second thing is, don't let haters and judgers, there's a lot of people in all of our lives that don't want you to win, or don't love your journey, or don't love your business, or whatever that is. And that's not your tribe. Hashtag not your tribe, or not even your business. Like, what people think of you is not your business, right? It is their opinion. And we think they are the truth sometimes. Do you remember being in 8th grade or 6th grade or high school and someone said something about you? They said maybe a judgment, right? You're clumsy, or you're ugly, or whatever that is. And instead of having the awareness of that's an opinion, that's that one person's opinion, what sometimes happens is that opinion comes onto us, and then we make it a label. And then all of a sudden we, become that. We stick it on us. They didn't stick it on us. They just said their opinion. But then we make it permanent, right? And what I want you to remember are those labels are removable. If someone called you fat in eighth grade, or dumb, or lazy, or whatever the name is, you've got to remember it was that one person, or that group of people, right, that said that. And that label does not have to stick. Labels are removable. And this is why I say this, is those labels play out in our life, and they get in the way of our flow. You're trying to create great things in the world, whether that's purpose-driven things, a book, a business, a ministry, a family. That's our gifts, our greatness, our purpose are all trying to come out into the world. But sometimes labels from our past are there going, wait a minute, you're too fat to do that, or you're too lazy, or you're from the wrong family. All those labels all of a sudden show up, and they block your flow. So it's really important that we realize that these old labels, these old judgments, these old opinions are not for us to keep. They are removable. So imagine they are, even like a sticky. The sticky says lazy. Someone called you in 8th grade, and you stuck it on you, right? And it's been there, and then another one and another one. I want you to rip off those labels. Labels are removable, and saying that was that guy's opinion. It's not the truth. And so when you can really know what labels you've been carrying around in those weights, you can remove them. And that's where we can get our power back, right? We want our power, our flow. That's where our gifts and our greatness can get out in the world. So that tip number 2 is understanding labels are not the truth. Haters, judgers, not your tribe. I say to my clients, I actually had a client in Florida. She was the only YouTuber I've ever coached. And she had, when you have 1 million followers, there's always some haters in there. And she, like human beings, were affected by people's opinions. And she had a few haters that hated her work and what she was doing. And I taught her, not my tribe, hashtag not my tribe. And I said, every time that you see something negative about you, a judgment or something, and you have the power to turn that down, ignore it, know that that's their opinion, it is not who you are. I want you to text me, hashtag not my tribe. And so every time she overcame that little bit of judgment that used to deflate her and disempower her. Instead, she knew that, bless and release that person, right? Not my tribe. And she would text me, not my tribe. And every time I got one of those texts, I knew she was gaining her power back, gaining her power back, gaining her power back around the haters. And the more your gifts and greatness and brilliance and amazing things that you guys are up to, the more that's out in the world, the more you get judgment. You're gonna have haters. You're gonna have people who judge you that say you're stupid, you're lazy, you're too fat, you're too this, you're the wrong color. I mean, it's just, people are judgmental. But are you going to stay in your flow, stay in your greatness, stay in your power, and what I just call bless and release, not my tribe, right? So having that power to stay in your flow, stay in your greatness, and not allow those labels, those judgments, and those opinions to take you out of your flow and take you out of your greatness. All right, so that's tip number 2. So if you have ever had a judgment, a hater, put the word, put hashtag not my tribe. I just want you to make a declaration from now on, just hashtag not my tribe. Put that in the comments. And what I want that to represent for you is from now on, you're not listening to that anymore. Bless and release. You don't even have to respond, right? We do not have to respond to haters and judgers, right? Bless and release, not my tribe. I'm staying in my flow, right? Staying in my greatness. So that's just a little system that I use, my clients use, because welcome to the journey of being a human being. You're going to get judged. All right, number 3, staying in your flow, is being present and being focused. This is so hard, especially if you have kids and a spouse and a house and career and all of that. But when I'm specifically talking about flow, we don't stay in our flow 24/7, right? Flow is a specific state of being, state of mind that usually lasts no more than 90 minutes. And this kind of goes with my tip number 4 too, is it's a certain amount of time that you get into your flow to do a specific task, right? It might be blogging, it might be journaling, it might be writing a book, it might be writing a screenplay, it might be doing a business plan, right? You might be opening a business, right? Or a strategy to grow your business, and you need to be in flow for 90 minutes. What I request, what I suggest here in tip number 3 is when you get into a state of flow, it is very, very important to be present. Be present. That means everything is shut off. No internet, no phone, nothing. No distractions. And it's really a state of being of flow. So what I did in this and using this in writing my book, at the time that I wrote my book, I had 2 businesses. I'm a mom, but I was just starting to take care of my father who was ill and dying. And that was a huge thing in my life that I wanted to be present to and with. And I'm like, wow, this is a really bad time to write a book. But this is what I used. I used flow. When we're in our flow, we are super, super powerful, and we can work at a much faster rate, right? So I wrote my book in 6 weeks, where my other book was more like a year and a half, right? It was just a constant state of flow. And I wrote my book in what's called your 3rd shift. So you have your first shift, morning, your night shift, and then 3rd shift is more like the midnight hour, like 11 to 3. Now, this goes into tip number 4. And this is tip number 4 is the time, how do I want to say this? It's when you are most in your flow. Some people get up at 4 o'clock, 4 to 5:30 or 5 to 6:30, and that early morning is super energetic for them. And that is when they can tap into their flow and get, whatever they're working on done. Some people love that midday, right? They just shut everything off that midday before it's, 2, 3 o'clock, that slump. But that midday time is when they get their best energy. And then people like me, that late night when everyone's sleeping, no phones are calling, and it's just quiet. For me, that's when my best flow shows up. So tip 3 and 4, I kind of combined. So tip 3, remember, being present, no distractions, being focused. That if you look up being in flow, there is a million blogs, a million articles about how to get into flow and the power of flow. But I'll tell you, every single one of those articles will say no distractions, right? It's all about being really, really present to the one thing that you're working on. So if you have something that you're working on, during this time is such a really wonderful time to go inside. And whether it's a creative project or it's a personal project, it's a book, it's a business, maybe it's something to do with your ancestry. I've heard a few people working on their ancestry right now. So whatever's on your heart to work in right now, flow is so powerful. It is really a state of just joy and power. So be present, no distractions, and be focused. And then the fourth one is knowing when to manage your energy. So, and when you know yourself the most to be in flow. Is it morning? Is it night? Is it afternoon? Because it really makes a difference. And this also is a tip just around business. If you're a business owner, one of the biggest suggestions that I have is know your priorities and know when in the day that you have your most energy, right? So like for me, I work with most of my clients in the morning because that's when my energy is high, when I'm clear, I'm my best self, and I can give to my clients the most. Anytime I need to write a speech, I do it in the morning. Afternoons, usually I'm working on my business, marketing, bills, systems, structures, maybe some meetings, but anything to do with creative or delivering has to be in the morning because that's when my best energy is. So just knowing yourself, and that goes for flow too. All right. So those are my 4 tips around flow. And what I can say about force is it will derail you. Force is a smallness game. And it is only us that can call ourselves on force. And, it looks like you can feel it in your body when you're trying to force a certain result. And right now with fear is a total activator for force. And so check yourself and see where you are in force and see if you can shift that over to being committed or being intentional, but letting go of the white knuckles and I have to make this happen. Because have you ever met someone who, let's just say a small business owner who's desperate for a client, and you meet them and they're like super salesy and like slimy and you want to take a shower after meeting them? Like, that's force. They're desperate. That's what force makes us be, is like desperate and dominating. And it's just like, it's super repelling. You're never going to get a client like that. So just take a breath, let go of the result, not like the giving up, the attachment to the result, and that you have to force it to happen. And trust your flow, trust your gifts, trust your business, trust that you can be intentional in getting a client without being desperate, right? So flow is your friend. It's powerful. It's a greatness game. And it's something that you can really go into and trust. And it's super creative too. So if you have any creative projects, business, career, lifestyle, personal, tap into your flow because it's super powerful. All right, you guys. So that's the lesson for tonight. Remember to take those those labels off. It's so important to remember, if you have kids, that's a very important exercise. We actually do that exercise in the Girls Rule Foundation with all the girls, is we have them we actually give them sticky notes, and we say, write the labels that the hurtful labels and judgments that you have been called, and stick them on yourself like this, right? So they have all these labels, right? And they're hurtful, middle school, high school. Ooh, it's hard being a girl. And so you have all these labels on. And then we talk about how, yes, that boy, that girl, that maybe it was a teacher that said, oh, you'll never, you'll never be anything. There's actors, and I think Lady Gaga has a story around that, where she had a teacher that said, you're not going to amount to anything. But, it might be an adult, but most of the time it's, Mean Girls, or it's someone in the school that has given some ugly opinion, but then we stick it on, and then we carry it around for the rest of our life, lazy and fat and ugly and this and stupid. Well, take them off. They don't serve you. They don't serve your greatness game, right? But when we can teach our kids, don't put that opinion on you. Don't stick that. That's someone's opinion. Give it back to him. Give it back to them. But don't stick it on you, and don't carry it around in your life. That is not who you are. It was just someone's opinion. So that's a really important, that's my biggest point tonight, is don't let those opinions become labels that you carry around, and they block your greatness. They block your flow. All right. So hopefully that encouraged you. I'm going to go have the rest of my prickly pear margarita and enjoy the rest of my evening. I love you guys. Mwah. I will be back here. Tomorrow is Friday. I'm losing days. Tomorrow is Friday. So I will be back here Friday. I am here Monday through Friday, the Greatness Game, 7 o'clock Pacific, to give you some love, encouragement, toughness around your leadership and your greatness game. Keep playing greatness games. You guys are awesome. You're amazing. I see you. I see all the amazing work that you guys are all doing in your family, in your community, in your businesses. So keep going. I will see you guys tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Mwah.